Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video I'm going to be talking about my 2019 reading year, kind of reviewing all of it or having like an overview of my entire year, and I will be talking about my 2020 reading goals. So I'm actually going to link last year's video down below so you can check it out, and I will link my Goodreads year in books and my Goodreads challenge, and anything else that I mentioned in this video I will link down below as well. So let's start off with my reading year. So 2019 was a pretty good reading year for me. I read a lot of books, way more than last year. I have a good amount of favorites this year. I feel like I read a lot more quality books and books that I really wanted to read and books that I have been meaning to read. I did a lot of that in 2019. Yeah, overall it was a really good year. I'm gonna go through a few stats really quick and all of that stuff, and then I will talk more about my reading year, and then I'll go into my goals for 2020. So my Goodreads goal for 2019 was to read 100 books, but I was secretly hoping to read 300, which I almost did. I was so close. Always set my Goodreads goal at 100 books just because I feel like that's safe for me. If I read over 100 books, I'm happy and I'm proud of myself. Obviously, I tend to read at least 200 books a year, but I like the stability or the safeness setting it at 100 books. So I set it at 100 books and I was secretly wanting to read 300, and I ended up reading 295 books in 2019, which I'm so proud of myself. I read way more than last year. Last year I think it was like 243 or 46, something like that. So I read way more than last year, which I'm really happy about. I'm pretty proud of myself. Also, I feel like I had one of the busier years of my life in 2019, so I'm very surprised I managed to still read that much books. So with reading 295 books, I ended up reading 78,000 pages, and I had a total of 10 rereads in 2019. The shortest book I read in 2019 was Ice Ice Babies by Ruby Dixon. This is a novella in the Ice Planet Barbarian series, and it had around 46 pages. And the longest book I read in 2019 was a reread for me, and that was After We Fell by Anna Todd. This is book 3 in the After series, and this has 848 pages. So it's a chunky one. I reread this, I think, in 2 days while I was working, which is crazy. I don't know how I did it, but I did reread this one in 2019. My average page length was 264, which is higher than 2018 as well. My average rating was 3.5, which I think 2018 it was 3.3, so it definitely went up. I feel like I was definitely giving a lot more 4 stars and 3 stars this year than any other year, so I'm happy with that. The most popular book I read in 2019 was a reread, and that was Beautiful Disaster by Jamie McGuire. I love this book, and it had been years since I reread it, so I was very happy to reread this. And the least popular book I read was Meant to Be Mine by Lexi Buchanan. And apparently the highest rated on my Goodreads is Nikolai Mine to Protect by Shandy Boys with a 4.44 average. And out of all of my most anticipated reads of the year, which I did make 2 videos on, and I do have 2 lists on Goodreads dedicated to them, so there was a total of 56, and I ended up reading 37 of them, which I think is pretty good considering I can get really lazy with new releases. I still feel like that's pretty good for me. And out of the 295 books that I read, I only read 45 physical books, which is something that I hope to improve in 2020. I wish that that number was a lot higher. I have so many physical books that I need to read, and I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't read more physical books in 2019. The rest were ebooks. The rest I read on my Kindle, and I don't know, it's something I do need to improve for myself. I have a couple more stats and then we'll kind of get into the discussion. So out of the 295 books that I read in 2019, 144 of them were published in 2019. So they were new releases. 151 of them were from different years, so they were a backlist, which I think is a pretty good variety of both, like reading newer releases and then also reading from previous years. I'm really happy with those numbers. I read 11 ARCs in 2018. Out of my 295 books, 10 of them were young adult books, which was higher than last year. Last year I read, I think, like maybe 5, but I definitely read way more YA in 2018, which to me is so weird because I felt like I was distancing myself more from YA, but I ended up reading a lot more of it. I think because there were a lot of sequels that were coming out that I wanted to read, so it makes sense, but I'm also surprised that I read 10 YA books in 2019. So for some more stats, a lot of these are really hard to classify or to like put all in categories, but I wanted to talk about like the genres that I read. 56 books were non-contemporary, so they were fantasy, magical realism, sci-fi, dystopian, paranormal, any of that. I read 56 of them, which is pretty high, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I binged many series by Ruby Dixon, which are like paranormal and sci-fi, so that probably has to do with that. I read around 72 new adult books. And I mean, new adult is always difficult to classify, but typically for me, I would consider it like 18 to 25, like the character's age, or if it's like high school, but there's like smut in it, I would consider that new adult, you know. Then I just read 163 straight up contemporaries, adult or young adult, like it's just straight up contemporary. Mainly it's adult contemporary. I read around 29 short stories or like novellas, partly due to me binging Ruby Dixon's books. The Ice Planet Barbarian series, there was a lot of novellas in there. Yeah, I read 29 of them in total for the entire year. And it was all like less than 100 pages. I read 60 new authors in 2019, which I'm very happy with. I'm very proud of that number. I finally have read some authors that I've been meaning to read, and I discovered some new ones and some new favorite ones, so I'm very happy with that number. Now I'm going to talk about my star rating. So I had 7 5 stars, I had 135 4 stars, I had 136 3 stars, 16 2 stars, and 1 1 star. I feel like there were definitely some books I could have given more a 1 star. I feel like there could have been more books that I rated 3 that I could have knocked down to 2. Yeah, mainly everything that I read was like either a 4 or a 3 star. Because my 3 stars and my 4 stars are so close, I do wish I could have tried to like separate them a little bit more, because I definitely feel like I put something at 4 that maybe didn't deserve it, or vice versa. So that's maybe something I need to focus on in 2020, is to try to rate things a little bit better. I feel like in 2018 I did really good with it, but this year I just feel like I was maybe being a little too generous, or I don't know. I just feel like I need to figure out how to rate things a little bit better. I think I had more 5 stars in 2018 than 2019, yet I talk about how I had a better reading year in 2019 than 18. So clearly, like, I'm not giving out as many 5 stars as I should be. Like, there are definitely some books I look at now and I'm like, I should have gave that 5 stars. I really loved it. Or like I think about it now and I'm like, that deserved a 5 star. But yeah, I didn't give it 1. So I need to get better at reading. My most read months were July with 39 books and March with 32 books. And my least read month was April with 22 books and December with 14 books. Realistically, I could have read a lot more in December, but I was just really busy and lazy, so I slacked on that. But that's okay. I'm still happy with what I read and my overall reading year. I'm really happy with it. 3 of my most read authors in 2018 were Ruby Dixon. I read 44 of her books because I binged the entire Ice Planet Barbarian series, which has like 20 books. I read the Ice Home series, which is a spin-off. I read her Dragon Paranormal Romance, which is kind of also a spin-off, and her Corsairs spin-off as well. So I read a lot of her books in 2019 and I have no regrets because they were super fun, super lighthearted, and just really easy and funny, fun. It was a good time and I'm really happy that I read all of her books because I really enjoyed them and I don't care if y'all hate on it because I loved them. I read 11 of Cora Riley's books in 2019. She was a new author that I had discovered. Well, I knew of her before and you guys have recommended her books to me before, but I finally read her books in 2018 and absolutely devoured her books. I love her books, as you can tell. I have 5 of them right here. So I read a total of 11 books by Cora Riley. And I read 8 books by Sarina Bowen. Sadly, I only have 1. The rest I read on my Kindle, but I read 8 books of hers this year. She's an author that I've known for a very, very long time, so she wasn't new to me or anything like that, but I finally caught up on most of all of her books and everything. So that's pretty much it for the stats and stuff. My goal for 2019 was to do the TBR jar, which we all know failed. I think I failed back in April or May. It just wasn't for me. I'm a mood reader, and no matter if I try to set my mind to read something I'm not in the mood for, it's just not going to happen. So I wanted to try to read more physical books, and so I thought that would be a fun way to try to do that. I thought it would be, you know, something out of my comfort zone, but sadly it just didn't work for me. I need something else to try to help me read my physical books, especially because it's all YA. Yeah, I didn't buy that many physical books in 2019, which I'm happy with. I think I was kind of the same as 2018, so I'm happy with that. I want to continue that in 2020, obviously. I read a lot of books that I had been meaning to read and authors that I've been meaning to read, like Cora Riley and K.A. Tucker, Mia Sheridan, Mariana Zapata, Brittany C. Cherry. I read a Candy Steiner book. I think I had more authors on my list, but I finally read a lot of those authors and I'm really happy that I did. I read a lot of books that I've just been meaning to read. I don't know, I feel like in 2019 I read a lot more quality books and also a lot more variety in a way. Like I wasn't reading all the same type of romance, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'm really happy with my reading year in 2019. I think I did pretty good and I found some new favorite books. Overall, it was a really good reading year. Now for my 2020 reading goals. I set my Goodreads challenge at 100 books, but I'm hoping to read at least 250 to 300. Maybe we'll try to hit 300 this year. I don't know, but it is kind of in the back of my mind. One goal for me is to at least read an entire shelf on my TBR shelf. So I've showed you guys my TBR shelf before. I've made a whole video about it. I think I've made like 3 videos about it, and I'm sure I'll do a new TBR shelf book tour, a TBR shelf tour. I'll probably do one maybe in February and March. My whole goal is to read like at least one shelf. I want to, at the end of 2020, have 1 empty shelf, which is really not a lot because there's like 10 books on one shelf, and that I could easily read in a month. But I want to make the goal easiest for me, that way I'm more motivated to do it. I feel like I had said before that I wanted to read half of it, and I just feel like that's too intimidating for me. I want to just have 1 empty shelf at the end of 2020, and I'll be happy with that. So that's kind of the goal. Obviously, if I end up reading more, that'll be amazing. But for now, the mindset is just to have 1 empty shelf. I want to continue to buy less, as I said. I want to keep reading authors that I've been putting off and authors that I have been meaning to read and books that I've been meaning to read. I want to continue that in 2020. I want to catch up on some series that I'm behind on, like J.R. Ward's Black Dagger Brotherhood series, Cressley Cole's series is behind me, Immortals After Dark series. I have a couple of YA series that I want to finish, so I want to catch up and finish some series that I have been meaning to do. Yeah, I just want to keep doing my thing, keep reading the books I want to read. I would really like to do like weekend reading vlogs where just like, you know, have a weekend where I have free and I can read a lot and I want to vlog it. but I also want to participate more readathons like always and vlog that. That's another goal for 2020. I feel like I did pretty good in 2019 with that, but there was some readathons that were happening towards the end of the year that I just didn't get to. Yeah, hopefully 2020 is better for readathons for me. I'm losing my voice a little bit, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's pretty much it for all of my goals for 2020. I do have a couple of channel stuff that I want to improve on in 2020. I kind of want to revamp my channel a little bit. I mean, realistically, I would love to change my channel name, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen just because I feel like I'm so tied to Falling Over books. I don't know if I could change it or what. I just don't feel like Falling Over books suits me because pretty much all I read is romance. I feel like I just want to put it to my name or something. I don't know. But I am probably going to change up my thumbnails and my titles, change like my banner and my profile picture and all that kind of stuff. I also am thinking about changing my upload days, but we'll see. That's something I have to kind of figure out for myself. Yeah, so my thumbnails are going to change a little bit. I want to get a little bit more creative with them because they're just plain and I don't really like it. I want some color and I want some variety, so I'm going to try to play around with that a little bit. I'm just not super creative in that way and like artsy in that way, so I'll have to practice and do some of that. I also want to do some like reading challenges and those type of videos, which I do have like a few ideas, so I'll probably try to do those in 2020. I guess this is like official announcement of like a type of video I'm going to do, but every 2 to 3 months I'm going to do a video where I talk about my favorite books that I read in those past 3 months. I feel like I don't talk about my favorite books enough. I don't talk about my recent book loves. And in 2020, I want to push more of my favorite books. Like I want to talk about them more. I feel like I don't talk about my favorite books that I've recently read or like my recent book loves. So it's going to be kind of like not seasonal because I'm going to do them like every 3 months or so, depending on how many favorites I have. Other than my wrap-ups, I'm not really talking about what I'm loving and what I'm reading, if that makes sense. So I want to do those type of videos. I also want to talk about some backlist books that I have loved, like some old favorites that I feel like I haven't talked enough about. So yeah, I feel like 2020 is going to be the year on my channel where I'm talking about more of the books I love and sharing more of that and trying to be a little bit more creative and not so much original, but just trying to do more stuff that is exciting and fun to watch and fun to do. So hopefully 2020 will be a good year for my reading and for my channel. I also forgot to mention that in 2019 I hit 5K, which is so surreal to me. I'm at 6K now, which is amazing, and I want to say a big thank you to all of you who have watched my channel all year. Sorry if my camera is at a different angle. I had to change my memory card because clearly I've been talking for too long. Anyways, thank you so much for all of the support in 2019. I can't believe that I'm at 6,000 subscribers, and it just literally means the world to me, so thank you so much for subscribing and liking all my videos and commenting and all of that. I just truly do appreciate it, so I just wanted to say a big thank you, and I'm so excited for what 2020 will bring on my channel. And I also wish you guys the best in 2020. I hope you guys have a good year and a good reading year, and I hope that you accomplish all of your goals and that you read some really, really good books. So I think that is it for this video. Let me know how many books you read in 2019 and a couple of your reading goals for 2020. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, follow me on all my other social media, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!